Most basements tell you everything about a house. The leaky corner, the furnace that's one winter from giving up, the boxes nobody opens anymore. Tom Garfield's basement looked exactly like that. Right up until it didn't. Pete Navarro had been doing home renovations for 22 years, and he had learned early on that the most interesting basements were not the dramatic ones. Not the flooded ones. Not the ones where someone had clearly kept raccoons at some point. The interesting basements were the ordinary ones, the ones where something small, something quietly deliberate, had been tucked out of sight and left there. He had come to replace a section of water-damaged drywall on the far wall. Tom Garfield, the homeowner, was at work. His wife Carol had let Pete in, offered him coffee, he declined, and settled onto the bottom stair to scroll her phone while he worked. Normal Tuesday morning, nothing to suggest anything was different. Pete pulled the first panel free. Standard framing, decent insulation, no surprises. He moved 18 inches to the left and gripped the next section. It did not flex the way drywall flexes. It was rigid, heavy. He pressed it with his palm and felt nothing give. He stepped back and looked at it properly for the first time. It was not drywall. It was a door, cut so cleanly into the wall that from 3 feet away it disappeared entirely into the surface. The edges had been mudded and painted over, but the seam was there if you knew to look. A small padlock sat flush against the frame, and centered at eye level, held on by a single piece of tape that had gone slightly yellow, was a sticky note in careful block letters. DONOTOPEN. Pete turned around. Carol was still on the bottom stair. She had not looked up from her phone, but she was not scrolling anymore. Her thumb had stopped. Her expression was the most specific kind of neutral, the kind that takes practice. She knew the door was there. Pete said nothing. He turned back to the wall, found the water damage he had actually been hired to fix, and worked steadily for the next 40 minutes. The padlocked door stayed padlocked. He did not mention it. Neither did Carol. Tom Garfield came home at noon to check on the progress, the way homeowners do when they are slightly anxious about what contractors might find. He came down the stairs, nodded at Pete, looked at the repaired section, and then his eyes moved 6 inches to the left and stopped. The mudded seam around the door had cracked slightly when Pete removed the adjacent panel. Just enough to make the outline visible for the first time in what looked like years. Tom went very still. Carol appeared at the top of the stairs. She said, in a perfectly level voice, that she had made sandwiches if anyone wanted them. Tom looked at the door. He looked at Pete. He looked up at Carol. Carol looked back at him with the same careful, neutral expression she had been practicing all morning. Then, slowly, something in Tom's face shifted. The particular shift of a man who has just understood that a secret he believed was perfectly hidden has, in fact, been known about for an unknown length of time. He cleared his throat. He said the door was he paused, a recording room for music. He had been learning guitar. He had not wanted to make noise in the house. He had insulated it himself. Pete kept his eyes on the wall. From upstairs, Carol called down that she had always wondered where the guitar picks kept disappearing to. Tom sat down on the bottom stair. He put his head in his hands. Then he started laughing, the kind of laugh that is also slightly a groan. Pete allowed himself a small smile at the drywall. The sandwiches were good. The guitar, it turned out, was not. Tom had known this for a while. He had simply not yet found the right moment to admit it. Some things get easier once the wall comes down,